are the perfect size to experiment with some things that I don't usually grow. So the stevia and the tulsi and the lemongrass, those are all tropicals that are difficult to grow in this area. But by planting them in tiny gardens and tiny little containers, then I have a chance to experiment and see what I can do with them without taking up a lot of space and a lot of time. Okay, I use a lot of different things for my container gardens. This is just a 2-gallon bucket, food service bucket. I don't know what came in it. It was a food service bucket of some sort. But before you use a bucket like this, you have to drill drainage holes in it. So I'm going to plant some stevia in here. So the first thing I've got to do is drill holes in the bottom. And I'm using my trusty hand brace, and it goes through there very nicely. There's enough holes in there to give it really good drainage. That should be enough. And then fill this with the potting mix. I'm going to use the compost and soil mix. Okay. Stevia is a tropical perennial that sometimes you can grow as an annual in temperate climates, but it really is a perennial that originated in Brazil, I believe. It's also sometimes called sweet leaf or candy leaf. Get the weeds out of there. I'm going to cut off that top half. Okay. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to set that in the bucket. And fill it around it. Stevia is best in about a 8 to 12 inch bucket or pot. This one will be fine. There we go. Alright, give that a good water in. Maybe add a little bit more to that. Nice bit of rainwater. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit more to that. It's always best to water the plants in, settle that soil around the roots. Stevia likes to be kept above 50 degrees. It's a tropical plant. So once the weather cools down in the fall, I will take that in and see if I can get it to survive the winter. Well-drained soil, humidity, lots of warmth, and you get a lot of calorie-free sweetener. Okay. Now, the next thing that I'm going to plant, I'm going to plant it in this old stock pot. And I've already got the holes drilled in it. I've been using this for a planter for years. I just keep putting different plants in it. Okay, so again, we're going to start by putting some soil in here. Okay. And I got a hold of some Tulsi. Tulsi is also called holy basil. Tulsi is a perennial basil that in temperate climates is usually grown as an annual. But again, it is a tropical perennial. Comes from India, and I am going to try and winter it over this year and see what happens. This is the Tulsi or holy basil. And again, I am going to trim that top growth off. So that it branches out. I will use that for tea tonight. And Tulsi needs about an 8-inch pot to grow in a container. So this is a nice size for the Tulsi. It likes moderate fertility, lots of warm weather. And moderate soil moisture. So again, we're going to water that in nicely. Nice rainwater. Let that soak in. Settle that soil down around the roots. And as soon as that settles in, I'll add a little bit more if I need it. Looks like it could use just a little bit more. Tulsi is a basil. Part of the mint family. So you can bury that just a little bit deeper than it was growing in the pot. And I'll go ahead and grow roots up there. And that looks good. And we'll set that one aside. Another option for an inexpensive container garden that is small enough to fit inside, if you've got a spot inside to put it for the winter, is an old milk crate. And when I use something like a milk crate or basket, I line it with a fabric liner of some sort. Sometimes it's an old sheet. This time I'm using an old grow bag that is torn up, but it's enough to hold the soil in here. And this is smaller than the go bag, so I can just wrap that around the edge. Okay, and what I'm going to plant in here is lemongrass. I purchased some lemongrass stalks at a local Asian grocer, and I made sure that it had the basil plate on it, and it is growing. It doesn't always grow, but this time I got it to grow. So that is an inexpensive way to get a lemongrass start if it grows for you. So I got enough stalks that I planted 2 little containers of it to get it started, and it's time to pot it on up. Get rid of the got to get rid of the weeds in here. And that is growing nicely. I'm just going to tip that out. You can see the roots already starting to grow through the bottom. Okay, so there is nice, healthy roots for the lemongrass. It's a little bit drier than I like it to be. Okay, now I've grown lemongrass in a 5-gallon bucket, and it did just fine, but I would like to get a little bit more this year. I planted some of it in the barrel garden, in the worm tower garden. I'm going to split this up and put it in here because it really doesn't need deep roots. Let's see if I can get a little bit more this year. Okay. Lemongrass is a tropical it's a tropical grass that originated in Indonesia. That is used for flavoring and medicinally. I use it medicinally in teas. It's got a lot of heart healthy properties to it. Okay, I'm going to water that in well. Where did I put the water? And then go ahead and fill that back on up. To overwinter. I haven't had very good luck with that because they need 2 things to overwinter. It needs to have temperatures above 50 degrees, which I can get it, but it also has to have 8 to 12 hours of sunlight, and that is very difficult for me to give it during the winter. So I get it to survive till about February, and then in the past I've lost it. But I'm gonna still keep trying and see if I can get it to winter over. But in the meantime, I should get some really, really nice lemongrass out of this for a fall harvest. Let's finish filling this in. I love working with tiny gardens, and the tiny gardens that I planted today are the perfect size to experiment with some things that I don't usually grow. So the stevia and the tulsi and the lemongrass, those are all tropicals that are difficult to grow in this area. But by planting them in tiny gardens and tiny little containers, then I have a chance to experiment and see what I can do with them without taking up a lot of space and a lot of time. So it makes it very efficient to try new things. And tiny gardens are very efficient and very productive most of the time. So, you know what? I am doing a question and answer for Delectable Tiny Gardens on July 18th, live on YouTube at 2 p.m. So, hey, give me your questions or come and ask questions during the live, and I will answer as many as I can during that time. Or come and join us over at Delectable Tiny Gardens, where I've got coaching sessions 2 times a week that you can join and get your questions answered there. So, hey, like, subscribe, and come and join us over at Delectable Tiny Gardens, the meeting place for people looking for food security in tiny spaces. You can develop more healthier food for yourself in the tiny spaces that you have.